for Christmas. Here's December's median response time report. Median response time for priority 1 calls was 8 minutes and 19 seconds. That's an 11-second decrease from November. The median response time for priority 2 calls was approximately 10 minutes and 40 seconds, which is a 22-second decrease from the previous month. The average 911 hold time for December was 31 seconds, which is a 3-second decrease from November.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second.
Yes.
And we're very close to being able to get that auto attendant and everything so that we can get the 911 hold times down, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, as we discussed last month, there was a sharp increase in fatalities from car accidents in 2023. I've asked the Traffic Investigation Section to provide some analysis regarding these accidents and discuss ways we as a community can reduce them.
Let me guess, one of the things is get people to wear their seatbelts.
So I'm Jason Asper. I'm the Traffic Division Commander, and you hit it, Commissioner, right on the head. Our big 3 continue to be speeding, failure to wear a seatbelt, and driving while impaired, whether it be drugs or alcohol.
Stop just a second. Can you all hear him? Would you stand at the
Yeah.
microphone?
So our big 3, again, are speeding, failure to wear a seatbelt, and driving while impaired, whether it be alcohol or drugs. And when I say speeding, some of the fatal accidents that we are seeing speed well over 100 miles an hour. And so if anything I could plead with the public is slow down, wear your seatbelt, take Ubers, whatever you have to, but don't drive while impaired. And so what I want to do today is kind of introduce our team before we start, and then I'm going to pass it to Sergeant Deb Randall to do the presentation. But this is Sergeant Deb Randall, Accident Investigation Supervisor, Sergeant John Rivers, Accident Investigation Supervisor, and Sergeant Curtis Anderson, who does our TIS, or Traffic Investigation Section. He files all the cases, works on the hit and run, his team. He leads that team. And then in the back there, kind of hiding behind the pole, that's Master Patrol Officer Bill Johnson. And Bill Johnson has the highest certification to investigate accidents you can have in the state of Missouri. And we're blessed to have him in our Traffic Investigations Office, now in our division office, so he can look at different causes and things that are happening with fatal accidents, where our high crash intersections are, and kind of lead us in the right direction to go out and work those spots. So that's his important role. But lastly, before I pass it on, these fatal accidents, we feel every single one of them, and I'll tell you why. It's because of those 102 fatal accidents. Sergeant Randall here and Sergeant Rivers have the very, very difficult job of going out to the family members and telling them that their loved one's been killed in a traffic accident. Thank goodness we have an employee wellness unit that supports us and comes out and, and talks with them, but they have that difficult job. So when we talk about please slow down, we mean it. And so I'll pass it on to Sergeant Randall.
Good morning, everyone. So last year for 2023, we had 90 crashes with 102 victims. It's 102 families, again, that we had to tell the horrible news to. Breaking it down, men, we had 71 men, 31 women, 63 white, 36 black, 3 Asian. And then here's our ages broke down. The youngest was a 2-year-old who was a passenger in a car doing over 100 miles an hour on Bannister Road when the driver lost control going through a red light. The oldest was a self-sufficient 97-year-old who was driving home from the grocery store when another truck doing 3 times the speed limit went through a red light and hit her. That's how it breaks down. Of the 11 crashes that we did of the 90, it was multiple deaths. One of them was a triple, 3 minors, 3 young ladies went out. One had a fake ID, they had liquor. She was also doing well over the speed limit when she crashed into a tree and killed all 3 of them. And then we had 10 crashes with the multiple victims, where there were 2 victims, either 2 in the car or they both died from like a head-on crash. 24 of the crashes were single vehicle. But when you look at the multiple vehicles, so we had 11 crashes where 24 people died, or 23 people died. Seatbelt use, it's an easy click, but we don't do it for whatever reason. People choose not to. Of the 90 crashes, 55 of them were where a driver could have put their seatbelt on. 37 of those died because they chose not to click the seatbelt. It's really sad when you pull up and you see a crash and the vehicle is still intact, but the body's been thrown out. The driver's outside the vehicle. Driver impairment, we still have a big problem with people choosing to drink and drive or take narcotics and drive. Alcohol, 13 of them. Drugs, 18. And then 19 of them had both alcohol and drugs in their system. And when you look of the alcohol, 3 of them were on a motorcycle. The drugs, 7 of them were on a motorcycle. And for both, we had 3 on the motorcycle. 13 of them we won't know because they were hit and runs. The drivers killed someone and left the scene. And we're still pending on 8 of our fatalities that we're investigating. 20 fatal crashes involved pedestrians. 10 of them were on the highway and 10 of them were on our city streets. 12 of the 20 pedestrians we have confirmed that had drugs or alcohol in their system. So we have an impaired pedestrian that's walking in a roadway that gets killed. Toxicology results are still unknown for 3, and then we have 3 that we're still pending. Bad driver behavior and personal decisions equal tragic results. Someone's making the choice to speed. It's like the major said, when we say somebody's speeding, we're not saying they're 10 or 20. We've had a lot this year where they were driving over 100 miles an hour, with the fastest one at a crash 121 miles an hour. They choose to drink, take drugs, and drive. They don't wear their seatbelt. Motorcyclists don't wear their helmets. And then, unfortunately, some of the pedestrians, they walk, they sit, or we've had them where they were laying in the roadway. And we're not sure why. Commercial vehicle involvement, 7 of them involved a commercial vehicle, 4 of them where it was 2 vehicles involved, the commercial vehicle and another vehicle, and then 3 of them, unfortunately, pedestrians were run over by semis. Fatal hit and run crashes, we had 17 hit and run crashes. They've cleared 10 so far. They're still working on the other 7. And the preventive measures that we're working on in traffic is they're identifying the high crash areas or where we've had fatalities. The officers are focusing their radar enforcement and traffic enforcement in that area. On weekends and special events like St. Patrick's Day, we do what we call DUI wolf packs. It's a group of officers. It's usually our DUI officers and a few other people. They go out during certain hours when everyone's out having a good time, and all that we do is we stop cars looking to see if the driver's impaired. We look for violations, we stop them, and we see if they're impaired. If they're not impaired, they're on their merry way. If they're impaired, then we take them to jail. Then we do the DUI youth alcohol events. Some of that is educational, and some of it is where we go and see if establishments sell to minors, or then we're also we go to special events to see if there are minors that are drinking. And then Mothers Against Drunk Driving Victim Impact Panel. Sergeant Rivers and I go and we speak to first-time offenders who we go and speak to the first-time offenders who the judge has said, you need to go do this class, and we participate. And basically what we do is we talk about going to these crash scenes, and we discuss what we see involved in fatality crashes and impaired driving, and then we talk about doing death notifications, how hard it is, and the responses to the families when we say it could have been prevented if somebody hadn't have been intoxicated. Sometimes it was their loved one who was intoxicated, but we go and talk about them. And then we're also working with the city for the Vision Zero, and Public Works has also been helping us a lot on some of the things that we do. Any questions?
Yes. I know that the department tries to enforce speeding and that sort, punish people who are speeding, but is there anything we can do with the highway department or other, you mentioned Public Works, if there is an area where there's a lot of speeding, can we disrupt the traffic somehow, make them slow down? I I've read that roundabouts disrupt traffic. They drive me crazy, but are we looking at that, other opportunities to talk with people about these dangerous intersections?
Our division office, Officer Johnson and Sergeant Ruark that's sitting back there, they keep a great relationship with MoDOT, with the Missouri Highway Patrol, with our outside agencies that surround the Kansas City area, and we often partner with them for projects like that. And so we are always looking for new ideas and any idea that we can slow people down. And so that is very much in their foresight of looking into, and we will continue definitely to do that this year.
One follow-up, if I may. Sorry about that. To answer your question, ma'am, specifically the Vision Zero Task Force initiative that we're working with the city looks at more of those infrastructure type improvements, such as implementing road diets where they'll, reduce some travel lanes to, cause people to slow down. They'll add other features to an intersection, changing maybe the way that the roadways intersect, so they're not necessarily right angles or a little askew, causing people, to slow down, and building what they call pedestrian refuge islands. Like if you drive down Grand, you'll see some of those there now. Of course, bike lanes, things like that are part of the equation and initiative that they're working towards also. And the state of Missouri has a similar program that they're working on for their facilities, such as 71 Highway, I-70 where it runs through town, and things like that.
Great. We save a lot of information or collect a lot of information. I want to share it where we can. Thank you.
I had a quick question too.
Well,
Go ahead.
On those driving impaired, and that's so sad because I know so much of that can be prevented, and the hit and runs, I know we've got a lot of city cameras and that out there. I'm sure that helps with.
It does help with the clearance, and it helps. Unfortunately, we get a lot of our crashes that are on cameras. We find sometimes, though, that they're not functioning, and so we kind of miss it. But then the detectives go out, they look for businesses and try to get it. But we do have a lot of them that have unfortunately been captured, so it's very clear what happened. In addition to the evidence, that's part of the evidence we have.
And then on that, with the drugs and the impairment, we finding that that's gone way up now that marijuana is legal, or, I mean,
I
I'm
believe
just
so. I
curious.
think we could probably say that some of the increase is due to that, because I do the wolf packs as well, and, it's amazing. We'll stop, my partner and I, we've stopped a few cars, and they're actively smoking while they're driving. It's legal. Yes, it's legal, but it's just like drinking. You can't drink and drive while you're driving, and you shouldn't be smoking while you're driving. So I think a little bit of that goes up well, because we get autopsy reports on all of them, and it has gone up.
I think more just getting those messages out to the
Yes,
community.
yes,
and-
the education, which with MAD, I enjoy doing that, because we can, they've done it once, don't do it again, because this is what happens when you do it again.
Thank you, guys.
First, thank you very much for the additional information and the analysis. This is very impactful. I'm curious, not mentioned in your report is any accidents or fatalities related to cell phone use and just being distracted. Have we seen a decline in that? I know it was a matter of real concern a few years ago.
I don't know if I'd say it's a decline. So when we go on the crash scene, sometimes the cell phone's in the floorboard. It's hard to say, unless we're looking at charges, we don't go, because it takes a lot to get information from a cell phone. And a lot of people, even like the ones who survive, won't say, well, I was on my cell phone when I ran over the pedestrian. And then, like, I'm over 10 years, I can only think of one where, unfortunately, she died with it in her hand. So it's hard to say if that's what it is.
well, and now, Missouri, or at least Kansas City, I think it's the whole state, you can't be operating a cell phone while
Correct,
you're
it's
driving.
hands-free.
That's against the law. How do we go about enforcing that? I mean, it used to be when you saw somebody without their seatbelt on, you could stop them, and then they said, no, just if no seatbelt and something else. I mean, I don't know how, and if you're telling a secret that will keep you from being able to arrest someone, don't.
No secrets. That's in the initial stage. The law was passed in the state. I believe there's a bereavement of penalty throughout the year until they make it punishable. Obviously, without city ordinance, we're not writing those. But from what I understand, the law is it's hands-free. So if somebody gets seen driving down the road with a phone in their hand, that can be a primary ordinance. They can be stopped for that. If they're just talking in the air because it's hands-free, then no.
So you're saying we don't have a city ordinance in Kansas City? Okay, and we need that in order to enforce the state law?
No, for city ordinance, we would need the city ordinance to enforce it on the city level. So sheriff's departments have patrol, they can enforce that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Any of our city council members want to ask a question? Thank you very much. Colonel Ortiz.
Not quite. We have
Oh, I'm
one more,
sorry.
one more presentation.
You told me to, and I was not paying attention.
Now we'll have a brief presentation from Dr. Ernest Fields, principal of Ruskin High School, and Major Dave Jackson, commander of South Patrol Division, who will be discussing the new initiative called Pizza with the Police.
Hello, and thanks for having us today. I'm Dave Jackson. This is Ernest Fields, and Cyrus Rogers is the Director of Security at Ruskin. Director of Safety, sorry. So I've been assigned out to the South Patrol Division for about a year. Right before I went down there, I was assigned to our Special Investigations Division. Obviously, we're all police officers. We know the dangers, frankly, facing our schools right now with all kinds of nonsense. When I was down in Special Investigations, we did have a problem with a specific group that did kind of escalate through the Ruskin neighborhood and Ruskin High. And one of the first calls that I made was to Ruskin High School to address this when I got out south. So tried to find a way to get officers into the schools to interact with kids in a non-confrontational manner and more of a mentoring manner, but also get the kid or the officers in the school to understand the school. How do I go to the next slide? So I tried to just get the officers to go in there and eat lunch. That didn't, frankly, I didn't get that going very well. I was talking with Cyrus and Dr. Fields, being in the school a lot, like, how can we do this? And they actually came up with the idea of what if we were able to have this Pizza with the Police program. And so they were gonna identify the students. We kind of talked about what kind of students would we be looking for, and it really wasn't academic, it really wasn't athletic. Some of those are the same students over and over. What we're looking for is students that make Ruskin High School better, and then mentoring them to make South Patrol or maybe Kansas City, Missouri better. And what does that kind of look like? So I'll let them kind of explain their process of how they identified students. But the purpose of the program, at the beginning for me, it was really more just police thing. Active shooter deterrence, having kids see officers in the school. I wanted the officers, if something, God forbid, happened in the school and they said it's in the cafeteria, I want officers to know where the cafeteria is, or the 100 hallway, where's the 100 hallway? Then we got into getting sergeants the key cards so that they could make entry into the school if they had to make entry into the school, and work through those types of things. So the other thing is, like I was talking about a second ago, this non-confrontational setting. Like, how can we do this that's not a part of punishment, it's not a scared straight, it's nothing like that. I do believe that one thing that we've had a problem with in policing is getting people to come forward when they know about a crime, when they see a crime, and I think one of the important things to do is to develop those types of relationships. You can't just expect that it's gonna happen. Most people don't tell on their friends no matter what the circumstances is. So there's really no reason to think that that's going to happen unless we get in there and have a relationship. And frankly, the kids at Ruskin tell the police officers that work out there a lot. They really do. And but that comes from creating relationships, and you've really got to be, I think, intentional about that. So then, just as this was going on, I watched a documentary about something completely unrelated to this, and the guy was a retired New York City detective, and he said, like 6 months after high school, he came on the police department in New York City back in the early 70s, and I thought, well, God, I came on here when I was 19. These kids are going to be in the workforce very soon after high school, and we can hope that people show up to a job fair, that's one thing, but I also think that we need to go out, we talk about recruiting all the time, recruiting and retention, which I think are very, very important. We do have some recruiters on the police department. As my opinion, we have 1,100 recruiters on the police department, and it is about how we interact with people. It's about how we interact at Quick Trip. It's about how we go on calls for service and our professional conduct all the time. But most people don't see that because they see social media or some other crap or whatever. So I think that by getting the officers in the school and developing that, and just getting, I was actually shocked when we did this at how informed the students were and how much they were really eager to learn about service. So that's kind of where the program started. I am going to turn it over to Dr. Fields, who is the principal at Ruskin High School. On just a side note, I was shocked when I walked into Ruskin High School for the first time about a year ago, how clean, well-behaved, the students are in class. I worked out there 20-some years ago. I worked off-duty. The school is completely different now, and a lot of that is because of Dr. Fields, but I'll let him brag on himself in a minute. But they're important. They're intentional about keeping the door shut, which are some of our critical incident reducers, is keeping the door shut, not letting kids out in the hallway, all that kind of stuff. But that's kind of where the program started, and then it went to the next level because of these folks.
Good morning. First, I want to say thank you, Major, when he gave his description about Ruskin. My plan has always been to make Ruskin a place that parents want to send their kids, that kids want to attend, and teachers want to teach. In order to do that, we need to make sure that the building is safe and secure. It has to be clean, it has to be inviting, and we have to have students who know what the expectations are and will work to those expectations. So when Director Rogers came to me, he's always Officer Rogers to me because when I started with the district, he was our SRO. And it was big shoes to fill because if you know Director Rogers, he's a larger-than-life character. And so now we have Officer Stubbs filling that role, and he is literally a larger-than-life character. He's 6'9", which I will talk about in a moment. But when Director Rogers came to me, he says, hey, I want to do this deal with police, pizza with police, and I want to bring Major in to sit down and talk to you about it. And I was like, yes, absolutely, let's do it. And we got the plan together. Now, the reason why I jumped on it, first of all, is because we have our SROs in our building, and we have a number of, Officer Stubbs is the only one that's assigned to Ruskin, and we have a number of officers that come in and help support throughout the week. And those officers, they're the ones that the students are going to come and talk to and say, hey, this is what's going on, and this is what the issue is. They're not going to come to me and do it, because by the time it makes it to my desk, it's consequences. So they're going to speak to that officer because he's the voice of reason. And hey, come on, let me talk to you. Tell me what's going on. And that right there, that relationship piece is what's most important. So when we had an opportunity to get these students and the officers together in a, it's just a regular setting, not school setting, after school, I thought it was a great idea. The other thing is the students that we chose. Our students were, we had about 30 students. We just randomly, hey, this student right here, oh, this one really needs to have a little bit of direction, because we want to have him sit down, and maybe police officer is a career choice for them. So we went through and we made those connections, and it was really important for me to have this program, because I want the officers in our building, I want the kids to be able to go and speak with these officers, be comfortable around them, because they provide not only safety, they also provide resources for our students, and they also provide, believe it or not, counseling services for our students. They're that voice of reason in their head, but they're also the one that sits down and listens to them and can tell you, give them some good advice. So that's what was really important. Now, from the student standpoint, to have this Pizza with Police a program in our school, it was important because they need to be able to see the officers as humans. Not just a badge, not just a uniform, but someone's there for their best interest. And that's what this achieved. And it was so successful in our school. And I take a look at this program, and if we can bridge those relationships on this level, why can't this be the model for how we bridge those relationships in communities? So we can start this here. And I can't wait until the next activity we have like this in our school, the next step in this program, because I want these relationships to continue to build. And with this, I'm going to turn it over to Director Rogers.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, board. Thank you, Chief Graves. Thank you, Deputy Chief Maven, and my fellow officers in the crowd that work with us and work in the school district. I see some of you out there. I know you are. Our social services, community engagement department. I mean, I appreciate you all. I even have an alumni out there. Mayor Pro Tem Raina Parks is a proud graduate of Ruskin High School. And it makes me proud to serve Ruskin. And as Major said and Dr. Fields says, I wear two hats. I'm also a reserve officer, KCPD. I love it. And I tell the kids it's the greatest job on earth. And then the last 2 years, I became the director of safety for the Hickman School District. I love that job. Second greatest job on earth. And like Major, first of all, there's no words for me to say. They've already, everything they said I was going to say. So, but to piggyback on what Major Jackson said is, yes, we do have 1,100 recruiters, and I'm one of them. The police department's been in the Hickman School District 20 plus years with Sergeant Stucker, Sergeant Baca, Officer Joe Smith, who was my FTO. And the great thing is now we got Officer Jenkins, who was a product of the Hickman School District, who's KCPD. Officer Asha White, KCPD, Hickman Middle School District. Instructor at the academy. And then most recently, in 2017, one of my kids, Officer Matrain in East Zone, is KCPD. And then even more recent than that, Officer Cole, East Zone, who just graduated KCPD. So that's a great thing to see these kids walk our hallways, bless us, and definitely bless me, and then choose the career and profession that I love. I mean, there's nothing more rewarding than that. I don't know what I would do without Ruskin High School and my kids in this department. And like, once again, Dr. Fields and Major Jackson say, these kids will talk to you. It's about building relationships. Once they know you care, you invest in them, they will tell you everything you need to know. I mean, I work with gang, I work with homicide, I work with property crimes. There's not a specialized unit that I've worked with in Kansas City Police Department, and I still consider my 9 years, even though I'm reserved, since 2015, I count 2014 when I started the academy, that I haven't had a kid or two or three that come tell me something where we're able to solve a crime based on the relationship that I have, or the relationship that Officer Stubb has, or the relationship that Detective Bradley has, or the relationship that my son has. He's also on Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, so that's another proud moment. So when I tell these kids this is the greatest job on earth, and they see me doing it, and they see us doing it, and they build these relationships, and Major Jackson, I mean, how many, let's be real, how many majors take time out their day to come check on my school district? I mean, I can't think of no other city besides Kansas City. I'm not saying Granby don't, Overland Park don't, but I know we do. And even before Major Jackson, Major Buck was highly involved. So I say that to say, as long as we're involved in the community and we truly invest in it, and it's more about not just taking somebody to jail. Well, warned you, it's times they gotta go now, right? I mean, I agree. And some of the roughest gangs in Kansas City, not a proud moment, come out of my high school. But I still love those kids. I still treat them the same. And even with that, there's still opportunity for them to change their lives, and they do. So we've got several, with our programs, we have great programs on the department. We have great resources. The thing is, we just gotta use them, and we have to work together. It takes all of us. Us three can't do it by ourselves. We need you all. And I thank you for your support, especially Deputy Chief Maven. I keep saying Chief Maven because when I first took the director job of safety, he was the chief at that time. And we worked through some things and some challenges. So without y'all support, and that's everybody in the blue uniform, I wouldn't be where I am today, and I appreciate you guys that. I appreciate that from you all. And thank you to the Board of Police Commissioners for supporting my chief and our department and standing behind us and helping provide us the things we need. And I understand, and I'm not getting into it, I understand this politics and push and give on both sides, but we can't do nothing unless we unify and unite together. And I gotta get off because Major Jackson already told me I thought I had a week to talk, but he told me I only got 10 minutes. So let me just end that because I can go on for days and days.
Everybody has 10 minutes.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. But most important, thank you guys. This means a lot to me, and it definitely means a lot to Dr. Fields, and without him and the staff and the support, I mean, that's what it just takes. It just takes all of us. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, and we appreciate all the recruiting you can do.
Yes, thank you for all your work and being hope to these kids that don't, get it out there, and thanks for giving them that hope and turning them in new directions.
I will say that our next one is scheduled with the 8th grade center, which is March 21st. Last week, we had to postpone because of the weather. The school is out of session, and then we'll have an elementary school this spring sometime.
Great job, thank you.
Thank you. Colonel Maven, I don't want to move on until you're finished.
That's it, unless you have any questions.
We don't. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, Colonel Ortiz.
Good morning, Commissioners. My information is under tab D in your books. As you can see, our law enforcement strength is at 1091 police officers. We also have 36 police officer candidates that are going through the academy right now, and we have 509 professional staff members. In terms of law enforcement hiring, we have 22 candidates in the process of possible eligibility. We have 7 confirmed candidates for the 181st class that will start in March 18th, and 5 candidates pending job offers. Our communications unit, we hired 2 members as recent as last week. We have 1 job pending and 6 members that are in the process for eligibility. This past Saturday, January 20th, we had a written and physical agility test at the police academy. 30 participants participated in that physical ability test. 21 of them passed, and now we're waiting for the results of the written examination to see who's going to be moving forward through the process. Our next test date is going to be February 22nd, March 20th, and April 27th, and it's also going to be taking place at the academy. We want to remind everyone that our department offers a wide range of opportunities for everyone, not only police officers. We encourage anyone that's interested in applying to explore our kcpd.org/careers website, and they can explore all kinds of positions that are open for anyone that wants to be and join us. Our wellness unit, they have been actively conducting roll calls in our patrol divisions or elements. By February 15th, they will cover all elements in the police department, within the police department, all units. And this is an initiative that aims to promote a healthy and supportive work environment for our officers and professional staff members. Within 6 weeks, they conducted 464 contacts with law enforcement, and these are incredible numbers, and the feedback that they're receiving is incredible, including personal gratitude from many members in the department. So we thank them for their contribution. We're actively engaging our community through recruitment. We encourage anyone, again, interested in applying for the police department. We have many openings, and as you can see, you have the listing or the places that we're gonna be participating. January 25th coming up, we're gonna be in Fort Leavenworth and T-Mobile Event Center recruiting. And then we have the other locations that you can see on the screen. And we hope to get more numbers for our next class in there. Graduations, the 179th entrant officer class will be graduating next week, February 8th, or 2 weeks from now. The 188th entrant officer class started in October 30th, and it's expected to graduate on May 16th, and our 181st class is scheduled to begin on March 18th. Does anyone have any questions? That will conclude my participation.
Just
Otherwise-
out of curiosity, the 30 that showed up for the test, 21 passed the test. Give us some context. Is that about what we expected for a turnout?
Yes, yes. And we hope that most of the 21 that are gonna be, that pass the physical agility, that their written examinations are also gonna be great, and we're gonna have a good pool of applicants from there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Colonel McCollum.
Good morning, Commissioners. All items for the Executive Services Bureau are located under tab E of your board book. Item A, budget transfers for fiscal year 23-24. I request general fund and police grant fund transfers. The general fund transfer moves $2,035,000 from personal services to contractual services. Due to appropriation cuts to contractual services, this transfer is necessary to ensure sufficient funding in categories for the normal operation of the department. The police grants fund transfer moves $2,150 from personal services to contractual services. The police grants fund transfer adjusts appropriations to where they are needed now compared to when they were estimated in the fall of 2022 as the budget was being put together. Unless you have any questions, I recommend approval.
Motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Item B, adjustment to special revenue accounts for fiscal year 23-24. The department needs to increase current year appropriations in the Federal Forfeiture and Seizure Fund to pay for the increase in our monthly bank fees. Therefore, it is requested that $500 be appropriated from the unappropriated fund balance of the Federal Forfeiture Fund to pay the cost for these increased fees. Unless you have any questions, I recommend approval.
Make a motion that we approve.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item C, adjustment to special revenue accounts for fiscal year 23-24. The department has experienced an increase in donations over this fiscal year. This adjusted appropriation will allow the department to act on those donations as they come in. Therefore, it is requested that $100,000 be appropriated from the unappropriated fund balance of the Special Services Fund to the Commodities Minor Equipment account in the Special Services Fund. Unless you have any questions, I do recommend approval.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item D, KC Violent Crime Reduction Subaward. The department recently received notification from the Police Foundation of Kansas City of the Violent Crime Reduction Subaward. The federal amount of the subaward is $4 million and is funded through the Department of Treasury American Rescue Plan Act. Funds were awarded to the Missouri Department of Public Safety and passed through the Police Foundation of Kansas City to the Kansas City Police Department. 6 projects to help reduce violent crime and strengthen police services have been identified and approved as qualified purchases by the Police Foundation of Kansas City and the Missouri Department of Public Safety. I'm sorry. This subaward period is from December 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2026. This will require the city to establish an ordinance to appropriate the funds so that we may begin making purchases. I've discussed this with several members of the city council, and I don't anticipate a problem with finding someone who will carry it. Unless you have any questions, I do recommend approval to accept this subaward.
Any questions? No. I'm sorry, is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve this.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just want to thank the police board for working hard on this and everybody to get this for us.
Ty Grant, I don't know if he's in here.
Yes, he's right here.
That's why I said that.
He was outstanding in this. He really carried the water in Jeff City, and it's been a long time coming, and we can't thank Ty and the Police Foundation enough. This is a huge deal for us and will allow us to get several much-needed items and make our IT infrastructure more robust. So it's very appreciated.
When I saw the list, I was just so relieved because those IT items we've been discussing for more than 3 years. Thank you, Ty, and the entire foundation.
I just want to say the Kansas City Police Foundation has done so much for our police department, but even since I've taken this role, they have purchased some of the training materials for de-escalation training for our officers, constitutional policing. They've purchased various equipment to help us reduce violent crime and to help us solve cases involving incidents of violent crime. I can't say enough about them. They are truly a relief. They have our back, and I'm just so thankful that we have them here at KCPD. They really do a lot for us. They do a lot for our city, and truly the efforts and the items that they provide KCPD not only helps us internally, with training and helping us with some of the equipment needs, but they truly are making our city safer. So I just a shout out to them of thanks.
I agree.
Yeah, and I've seen some of those videos on their website. I would recommend anybody go look at that because it shows the cameras and things, how we've been able to solve crimes because of what they've donated to keep our city safe. So thank you for what you do, Ty, and everybody involved.
Anything else, Colonel?
No, that completes my report. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't vote to approve that, right? We need to approve it, right?
Yes, please.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And there's no one to vote no, so it passes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And next is Colonel Young.
Morning. Hopefully you got my email at the end of the week last week that we're only seeking approval on 2 of these policies today. The policies are the reemployment of former department members and reserve sworn members volunteer program. And unless you have any questions, I recommend approval on both.
Let's do them one at a time, and I'm trying to find. There's a typo that I'll talk to you about.
Okay.
I don't need to find it.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve the reemployment for former department members?
So moved.
Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There is none. Motion carries. Reserve sworn members volunteer program. Is there a motion to approve that?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There is no one to oppose. Okay. That's it.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, General Counsel.
Good morning, Commissioners. I have one action item for you, and it's under tab G in your board book. Joshua E. Jones has appealed the denial of his application for an unarmed private security license. On June 14th, 2021, Jones was involved in an incident in Gladstone. He exited his vehicle at a stoplight and assaulted two parties with an ice scraper. Then returned to his vehicle, retrieved his skateboard, and repeatedly struck the other party's vehicle with the skateboard, damaging the bumper and the right rear mirror and shattering the windshield. Jones was convicted of misdemeanor assault and property damage following this incident. Jones subsequently applied for an unarmed private security license. On December 14th, 2023, the private officer licensing unit denied this application as Jones was in violation of 17 CSR 10-2.050-3H, which requires applicants for private security licenses be of good moral character, including having no misdemeanor convictions. If there are any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, the private officer's licensing unit recommends denying this appeal.
Is there a motion on this?
Move to uphold the denial.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, there is no one to oppose. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, public comments. There are no public comments. I do want to say we got a public comment in writing. Well, we got several, but one that I wanted to mention talks about people who are unhoused. We use different terms, homeless, houseless, whatever. The person who wrote this very thoughtful letter it's not something we can address, but Mayor Lucas, who is on the board and obviously the mayor of the city, has already forwarded that letter to the committee with the city that deals with that. So that information, we appreciate it coming in, and it has gone to the proper place to be considered. Did you have something, Chief?
I did. On February 15th, that will mark the 1-year anniversary of the passing of Officer Mulbauer and K-9 Champ. Just today, I got a memo recommending the K-9 training facility be named after Officer Mulbauer and K-9 Champ. I have every intention of approving that, but I just at least wanted to notify the board because some of that may move quickly between now and the time that we meet next. So I will keep you all informed, updated, and involved in that process.
Thank you. Thank you. When we heard about speeding today, obviously they were killed by a speeder at 80 miles an hour in a 30-mile zone. So we're all impacted by that, but it certainly brought that to mind. Thank you. That sounds like a great plan. Okay. Minutes for the December 12th meeting. You weren't there. Oh, I skipped over Merle. Do you want to talk? Thank you. Now, when it's my turn, I will.
Good morning, Commissioners, everybody. Happy New Year. I really don't have a report for this month because we're still wrapping up 2023 investigations, and we want to make sure that we give an accurate snapshot of last year's activity. And also on next month, we'll talk about some of the things that the office is doing to expedite investigations and some of the things that we are doing in terms of trying to resolve investigations or resolve complaints without them being investigated. So we'll have an update on those activities next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Approval of the minutes of the December meeting. You're going to have to make the motion.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes of the December meeting.
And I'll second it. David, you weren't there.
I'll have to abstain, but you two can vote on it, I believe. David, you can correct me if I'm
Got to have
wrong.
3 people to vote on it. We'll have to hold this over. We could do it when the mayor gets here. Okay. So,
Well, note though, I watched it on YouTube, so,
Well-
but I don't think that counts.
no, I don't think so. But it was nice of you to watch, and you stayed awake, Good. As you all know. All right, Mr. Kenner, we have some resolutions that we need to consider.
Yes, thank you. These are resolutions authorizing different people to do different items, basically. The first one is 2401, which authorizes the chief to sign certain documents with outside personnel. And so I recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second? Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. 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 Do we need a roll call for these, David?
No.
Okay.
The second one is resolution, excuse me, 2402. Again, it authorizes certain personnel in connection with funding of grants and applications and evaluations, and sets certain limitations on what the chief can approve at $125,000 or less. And again, I recommend approval.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Resolution 2403 appoints various parties to the Deferred Compensation Committee. And again, I recommend approval.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Any question or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, Mr. Whitaker.
Chief, thank you for the proactive approach before our meeting next Monday with the Foot Patrol downtown. I think having the meeting is just a benefit and being an audience for downtown businesses, but taking some proactive steps, I think, is going to be very well received. So thank you for that. And I think we'll also learn at that meeting, I've seen some more of the problematic businesses downtown have started investing in safety. So I think there seems to be a movement afoot, and hopefully we can continue in that trend. So thank you. That's all I have.
Commissioner Kramer?
Well, along those lines too, I think, 2023 was a tough year, but we're in the new year now, and we're implementing all these great things that are starting to happen. So I just want to say thank you for working so hard and being out there in the community and making these things happen and implementing these programs. I'm looking forward to that 2023 crime plan where we can all work together and get the community more engaged as we go, and looking forward to a good year. So thank you. And thank all of you for what you do for us every day. We really appreciate that.
At last month's meeting, there was a discussion of the fact that we're doing a salary study. I don't know if that's the right word. And I wanted to make it clear, we talked about it in the context of problems we had addressing issues in communications unit. But that study is for all professional staff in the police department. So any of you that thought it was just one department or a few, it's the whole professional staff. So I wanted you to be sure you understood. We're trying to look at all of that. Again, I thank the chief and all of you for the work you do. We really appreciate you. And now, we don't have to go through the information items, do we? We've given notice that there's going to be a closed session to discuss litigation matters, personnel, and labor negotiations. And so we need to have a motion to go into closed session. Is there one?
Move to go into closed session.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Need a roll call.
Dean, aye.
Kramer, aye.
Whitaker, aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much for being here. We are adjourned.